Hey, what's going on everyone? Finally finished my new build. This is my Hexacore build. I wasn't gonna build another computer until the Haswell processors came out, but a good friend of mine gave me a good deal on the 3930K processor, so because of that deal that he gave me, I ended up building this guy. So shout out to Eric, aka Comp VIP, for hooking me up with a pretty good deal on the Intel 3930K Hexacore processor. So it is a Hexacore build, so that's the CPU, Intel 3930K. Motherboard I used is a Gigabyte GA-X79 UP4. This board will support up to 64 gigs of RAM. It has a total of 8 slots that can read up to 8 gigs each, so 8 times 8. 64 gigs. The X79 platform also supports quad channel RAM, and the RAM I have in there right now is the G-Skill Z series, 32 gig, 4 times 8 gig, 1866 DDR3. Also with this motherboard, it has a pretty large heatsink right above the CPU, which is this guy right here. So on certain towers you may not have room to mount a H100 cooler, or those type of coolers where the radiator is mounted on the top. Well, if you prefer to have it mounted on top, but let me show you the clearance. The case is an Antec, or I'm sorry, not Antec, what am I thinking? Define R4, Fractal Design Define R4. So I don't have a radiator on top. I have two 140 fans up top. Just want to show you the clearance in this particular case and this motherboard. Also, with this motherboard, it's UEFI BIOS. So one of the things that baffled me a little bit is I wanted to use an old, well, not old because I just bought it, but it's a FireWire card using a PCI slot. I didn't want to use PCI Express because I didn't want to waste the PCI Express slot on a FireWire card. So I found a Roseville RC507 PCI card. And the problem I had is because it was using an old PCI slot, in the BIOS you have to set it for legacy ROM. If you don't, Windows will recognize it, but you're gonna get an error saying something like not enough power or whatever. But anyway, the device manager is gonna pick it up and say, hey, I'm not working properly. I googled it, couldn't find anything, so I played around with the BIOS and found that, and enabled it to legacy, and it works now. So that card I'm talking about is this guy right here. It's a FireWire card. That's one of the things I didn't like about the board, is it didn't come with FireWire, although it is becoming an old port, but I need it for capturing videos. So yeah, back to the motherboard. I really like the board. I'm not doing too much overclocking, but if I do or want to in the future, I'm able to. It has plenty of SATA ports. It has Intel for RAID controller, onboard RAID controller by Intel, and it also has another RAID controller. I just can't think of that RAID controller now. What's the name of it? Well, if I remember, I will put it up on the screen for you. What else does this board have? It could support SLI, but with this setup I only have one video card. That video card I went with is an MSI 660 Ti. It's the overclock edition. I was gonna go EVGA, and I was gonna go with a 670, but for my needs, I think this will suit me well. So this one could be overclocked as well if I choose to. But for the price, it's the same price as the EVGA, and I like the cooling system here better than what the EVGA has. So this one has, let me see if I can get under, 2 fans. I like this better than the EVGA shroud. So the cooling on the processor, it is a Corsair H80i. It has a USB link that's connected to the software, which is okay, I guess. I was gonna go with the H100, but I was concerned about the that heatsink up there on top, to see if there was any room. But anyway, I went with the H80 instead, and it's fine. It cools it off enough. Idle temperatures are in the high 30s. It floats around 37 degrees Celsius. I read on the forums that people are getting high 20s. Not sure how they're doing it. They're not really sharing, but I know I have some cabling cleanup to do, but I doubt that affects it by 10 degrees, at least what cabling I've done so far. So as mentioned earlier, I do have 2 140 millimeters of fan up top, and those are the Rosewell Hyperborea. I can't even pronounce that. Hyperborea 140 millimeter fan up top. Okay, so next we have Corsair TX750 power supply. This is the version 2. Really nice, quiet, enough power. So on heavy loads, I get close to about 200 watts. I think about 186, something like that, when I'm rendering stuff or I'm playing games. It's roughly around there. But it drops down to I would say like 150s to 160s when I'm doing medium stuff. So the highest I've noticed it is about 186 watts. On idle it's about 120. Keep in mind the processor is 130 watt TDP, plus I have 3 mechanical hard drives. So 2 of them are in a RAID 0, these 2 right here. It's an older drive that I had lying around, older drives. These are Seagate's, can't remember the model number, but they're 1 terabyte each, 7200 RPM, but they're just the SATA 2, which runs at 3 gigabits per second. So they're not the faster ones, but had them lying around and I wanted to just reuse them. They're in a RAID 0. That's where I have my my games installed, my Steam games. So I wanted to put them in a RAID 0 just to get the extra speed out of them. And I'll probably be installing other applications in there, stuff that don't fit on my main hard drive. The one right above it, this guy is just by itself. It's a Western Digital. It's a 1 terabyte 64 meg cache, 7200 RPM. What's the model on this? It's like the FX8 or something. It's also one of my older drives, but I wanted to reuse it. Okay, and then my main drive for the OS, it's on 2 SSDs, Kingston HyperX. These are the blue ones, not the black ones. So these are like, I believe, one of the first ones that they released before the black ones. These are 6 gigabits per second, the SATA 3s. They run pretty well. I just haven't used them lately. This was on my first build, so my first build I think in 2011. So I have them in a RAID 0, 120 gig each. So after everything's formatted, it's about, what is that, like 212 gigs. So I have them in a RAID 0 right now. The hard drive bays are actually two pieces. These three are one, and then this right here holds 5, so that's a total of 8 3.5-inch bays. It supports 2.5-inch also, as you can notice down here, but they can be moved around. Actually, this could be moved around from here to here, and this could be removed if you wanted to mount a radiator here instead of back here where the traditional position is. So but it stays there because I have a 120mm fan here. This one is a Cooler Master 120mm. So I also have a another Cooler Master 120 for the side panel, which I don't have here. So even with all those fans, I'm still getting around 37 degrees Celsius idle temps. So I don't know. I guess it's fine. I think I remember my i7 960 a few years ago ran that hot. So what else is there? Well, I could explain a little bit about the fan. So how I have it set up, I have a two fans here. Actually, the fans here are the ones that came with the tower, 140mm, the fractal design ones, and they are the top one is pushing, or is it pushing? Well, getting air in. Bottom one is getting air out, and then there's vents here. I don't need a fan down here to cool it off because they're SSDs. The fan here is getting air up. The H80 has two 120mm fans back here and here. Normally you would do a push-pull where it gets air from out and gets air from in to cool off the radiator, but this one both of them are going in. So with all that ventilation, oh actually, and the fan on the side panel, I have air going in. So with everything going in except for the fan down here, everything going in, I have the exhaust fans, which are these two 140mm. They're all going up, so my exhaust is actually on top of the case. What else? So, oh, the optical drive. I have the optical drive over here. This front panel is actually held closed by a magnet. So here's how the front looks. My optical drive is an LG Blu-ray burner. I hardly use the burner, but I do use the Blu-ray reader part. And I have a Rosewell memory card reader. So the tower is really nice. I wish it was more toolless. I guess I just been spoiled with the Corsair 600T case that I have right here. My other one, this is my i7 2600K build. I still have it. Just wanted a Hexacore build, but still runs like a champ. So anyway, let me see if I could open these. So as I said, these have filters. Those are the two 140mm fans, and with the filter. There's also filters on the bottom of the case. It's pretty silent. The only thing you'll hear, if you hear anything, is the H80i. If I had to choose another cooler, I'd probably go with the 60i, just so that it's a little more quieter. It's like a jet engine when I first turn on the computer. But as soon as it starts up, it quiets down a little bit. So let's see if I could bring it in. So it's not too bad. My i7 2600K uses the H60, and it's pretty silent unless I'm doing a lot of heavy work. But yeah. So that's about it. Gotta work on some of the cable management, but just wanted to get it up and running so I can play with it. So far it's been great. I noticed not a huge difference between my 2600K, but there is a performance difference. The early stuff that I've done seems like about a 20 to 25% increase in performance. This is like video rendering, pretty much video rendering, because game wise it runs fairly the same. Not many games, actually I don't think of any games that will use more than 4 cores anyway. So, and the 660 Ti compared to my older 470 SC, not much of a big difference with gaming. So that's it. Hope y'all like my video. Please check out my blog, abbyandwin.net. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and y'all have a nice day. Thank you.